All right, we got 11 minutes of the beginning of the season, and it's so good. Oh, it was juicy. All right, so what this video is, it's not going to be going through scene by scene like I did with the trailer, but just any scene that I had that I thought special, like especially book nerdy thoughts or just extra thoughts about, that's what I'm going to be going through. There are very, very heavy spoilers through to The Gathering Storm in this book. If you have not read as far as The Gathering Storm, go, run away. I don't want to spoil this for you. It's such a good reveal in the books. I do not want to spoil this for you. So yeah, but if you have read that far, let's get into my book nerdy thoughts.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
So this is the very first shot from this sneak peek. I'm assuming that this is the first 11 minutes of the episode, which I do find a bit, I don't know. I'm curious to know if there's going to be something before this, because this really does just throw you in. And I could see people, especially not like people like me, hardcore people, getting a bit lost. But it is gorgeous. It is absolutely stunning. Just the detail, like this is obviously CGI, but it's not obvious. Like it's obviously CGI because the city does not exist. That's the reason it's obvious. It doesn't look like CGI. It's stunning. The one thing I do want to talk about is the fact that it's raining, which this as being CGI, that's intentional. The only reason I bring that up is because there's a scene from the trailer with Egwene and she's wet. And of course, and I'm sure a lot of people's initial reaction was, oh yeah, that's the water being poured on her during her testing. But her jacket is not right for that. Like we even see a shot in the teaser trailer, we see what she's wearing during the testing, and it's not like a white shoulder covering jacket. It's a shift like what Nynaeve wore in her testing. So I'm now like, this is intentional. Rain is intentional. You do that for mood or whatever, and you also can do it for continuity. And so I'm wondering if that scene of this tower is tearing itself from the inside out is going to happen during this episode, because again, raining. This is on purpose. Also so pretty. Look, it's so pretty. Then the next shot is this of Siuan on her balcony. And of course, if you watch my reaction to this sneak peek, you saw me go back and double check. Railings! Look, that is a sort of a railing, except it's very, very low. And somebody in the comments was like, yeah, it's more of a trip hazard, which it is. And it's raining, and those are marble floors. At least everything looks like marble. If you slip and bang into that, you are going to topple ass over tea kettle. Like it's going to be like that scene from Titanic with the person hitting the propeller, and that's what's going to happen here. It's not safe, but it's not important because it's not real. It's not real. Everybody's fine, and I know, but it's just, I have a phobia about this sort of thing, so I notice it. And anyway, whatever. Siuan is looking awfully sad, and I just get this sense of her, the weight of the soul on her shoulders in this moment of just, I'm about to expose something. The show has not made a big deal about this, but those book readers, like, this is my book nerding out about this. The Aes Sedai in the books recoil at just the very accusation that the Black Ajah exists. They hate it. They find it offensive to even postulate that dark friend Aes Sedai exists. And she is about to expose that in the hall. That's a lot. That is a lot. And so, yeah, this heaviness on her shoulders, I get it. I get that feeling. Yeah, this is what she's looking at. And I slowed this way down just because it's stunning. Again, just the scope of this. Like, it's a composite shot that's almost certainly, again, CGI, but it is beautiful. Just look at Tar Valon. Just look at it. That's literally the purpose of the shot, is just look at it. Look at it. Look at it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Like, this is it. This is it. But also, okay, who's down there in the city? Moiraine. So they must have communicated before this, because Moiraine, we'll talk about it in a moment. Like, Moiraine is here with Lan, and they know what's happening in the tower in this moment. So, yeah. The obvious implication that we get from this, of seeing Siuan look down and then seeing Moiraine look up, is that it's like I don't know, Bible, getting an American Tale. Like we're underneath the same blue sky. That kind of feeling of just they're in the same place, but they're not in the same place. So we're getting their proximity, but also their separation. Then Lyanna comes out and says, "It's time, mother." And yeah, again, this is heartbreaking, I think, for Siuan, just the burden that she has. I will say I slowed this down a lot, and I very much wanted to examine it because I was wondering what we could see in the background of her room. And that is the stole. That's her Amerlin's seat stole there. So, okay. So this is the scene I was going to mention here. Lan turns to Moiraine and says, "She'll be all right." And Moiraine says, "Today isn't about her." This is one of those interesting things where I think, obviously, Lan is thinking that her concern here is for the woman that she loves, which understandable. But Moiraine is an Aes Sedai, and I think her primary concern, is the same concern that Siuan is having at this moment of just, we are about to fracture the tower. We are about to chip away at one of the foundations of our belief, is that Aes Sedai stand for the light, and we are about to undermine that entirely. And I think that's the concern he's feeling. Because, yeah, they're bonded again, right? So he's feeling her worry and concern and assuming it's about Siuan. And I'm assuming she obviously is in love with Siuan. So there is some of that concern. But I don't think that's entirely what's going on. Including this one. I was wrong. Okay, so I had thought this was Age of Legends just because of the scope of the statues. But I guess they're Ogier built. I don't know. I don't know. That's my guess. But this is obviously the hall. Or not the hall, but this is like you're entering into the Hall of Servants. So yeah, this is Tar Valon. So here Liandrin meets up with the Reds before going into the hall. We see 3 Reds plus Liandrin. So presumably these are the sitters. And Liandrin's been called in to the floor, which is interesting. So she says here that she's going to, bring things up to the hall. And one of the sitters says to her, "We stand with you no matter the charges." And at the time, like when I first watched it, I was like, "Ooh, don't say that. You don't know what the charges are. You absolutely do not know what the charges are." So, and then when I watched it again, my thought was, "Ooh, is she subtly giving Liandrin like believe me, I know what side you're on, and I will support you." Because we are on the same side, like basically, is she Black Aja? That was my wonder. But I don't think so. And we'll get to that much, much later. I don't think she is because, I don't think she was. But we'll talk about that when we get there. All right. So now Varen and Adelius and Naomi are heading towards the room of requirement. Trans Lives Matter. But they're heading there. And okay, that's why I got this scene. That look that Naomi gives when I think she knows where they're going ahead of time, because that's a satisfied look. She's finally getting what she wants. The question that I had, again, maybe my third watch through, is how much did the Black Aja know about what was going to happen? Because Liandrin goes into the hall and tries to turn things on Siuan in that moment. It doesn't appear that she knew that Siuan was about to accuse her. So this is part of the Black Aja's plan, but were they planning for everything to happen today? Or was it just like a long con that Naomi has been running here to get into this room? And was it like, when we get into this room, then we all go? Or I don't know. Or did the Forsaken realize what was about to go down and give their warnings to all of their, little minions in the tower, so that they would be ready for when this happened? And then we find out that the Reds have been barred from the hall. Lyanna here says that you only need 11 sitters to basically have a meeting of the hall. And that's actually true. That's book accurate. That is literally book canon. It is interesting, I think the assumption that Siuan had is if there are other Black Aja, it'll probably be from the Reds. So I will not bar any of that. I will bar them from coming in. None of those women end up being Red Aja or Black Aja, it seems. And if any of the Ajas are actually prepared to fight other channelers, it's the Red Aja. Like the Green Aja is the battle Aja, but they are mostly meant like I would imagine the Green Aja mostly prepares to fight Dark Friends and Shadow Spawn. They do not prepare to fight other channelers, whereas that's literally one of the main focuses of the Red Aja. So they would have been very handy to have in the hall, and they were deliberately excluded from the hall. And yeah, I do not think this bodes well for things that are going to happen later on this season for Swan, because I mean, this is a personal slight. I saved this clip on my computer as fashion show. I don't really, there's nothing book spoilery to say except at all, or like book thoughts. Just like, look at the whites, man. And look at her. And look, they just, it's just so gorgeous. It is interesting to know the ones that are getting the most attention, that's a Black Aja, Joy is a Black Aja. And then like that one hair, and then that white there in the front, that's a Black Aja. They are getting camera focus here, but of course you don't know that yet. I mean, those of us who knew who Joya was from season 2 recognized her immediately, but the rest of them, we don't know. Nobody knew yet. It's just the clothes, man. Oh, costumes in this show. This might be my favorite shot. Just look how petty. Alana is one of the few who going in who knows what's about to happen. And look at that little smile she gives Leandra. She's just like, I don't know. I just love it. Every time I see it, it just makes me laugh so much. I've already seen memes of this. It's so good. It's so good. Leandra then goes on to accuse Swan of like meeting with Moraine, which I don't know why that would be an accusation. I guess because she banished her. I guess the idea you banished her, but then you secretly met with her. I don't know. I don't quite get why that would be something to bring up in this moment in the hall. But then also of meeting with a man who could channel, who has proclaimed himself in Falm. And then the only thing that she says here that is not true is that Swan willingly let him go, because that didn't happen. The rest of this is actually true. Now, the thought I had, again, one of the times that because I've watched it a few times, was that this was politically savvy of Swan to allow this to be said now, because she's about to expose Leandrin. So it's going to make it very easy for people to forget what Leandrin said, because what's going to happen next is going to very much override anything that Leandrin has accused her of in this moment, but also going to make it very easy for people to dismiss what she says. It's like that whole, what is it called? Ad hominem, where you attack the person who said something instead of what they said. So she's basically setting her up in this way. Yeah, say everything, even if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true, because nobody's going to want to associate themselves with your accusation in about 2 minutes. And then Swan basically foreshadows her own demise. Like she says here, if what you say is true, then the hall has no choice but to restrict my authority, decree a penance, or even depose me. Now, what Leandrin said there was mostly true. There's only one part of it that's not true. And it might not even be a lie. Like Leandrin might actually believe that Swan let Rand go. But even if she doesn't, like even if it's a lie, it's literally everything else she said actually happened. So it's going to be really interesting to see if non-book readers, when they watch this, realize that she's basically saying what's going to happen to her. Because if the hall finds out what she did, she says it right here. She says it right here. Like, I'm curious to know if non-book readers, when they're watching, just get so overwhelmed by what happens next that they forget that she is at risk because of what she's done. All right, then we get Swan's accusation. You, Leandrin, you can break the 3 O's. You are a dark friend. Sorry, even when I made the subtitles here, I put it in 2 words because the way she says it, I just thought was so interesting. She's like, you are a dark friend. She doesn't say dark friend. She says dark friend. And I was like, okay, cool. That was interesting. I thought when I was first watching that she was going to like try and fight this more. You know, she says, this is what you try and do to silence me. But they bring out Nynaeve, and Leandra just caves, which she doesn't have to. Nynaeve is not taking the oath. She didn't have to cave here, but she just does. And so this sort of lends some credence to my mini kind of theory that the Black Aja were a little prepared, that they knew something was about to go down today. They were going to try something else, maybe, like see if Leandra could finagle her way out, but they were already prepared a little bit for what was about to happen because, she just caves immediately. The other thing I want to point out here, when she's making her accusations here about Leandrin being a dark friend, you can break the 3 O's, you're sworn to the shadow. They flash to these 3 yellow sisters here, and it just cracks me up because the one in the middle is the dark friend, and she's the one who's like, oh my stars, heavens to Betsy. It's so funny that she does that. And then you also see the Black Aja start to give each other little looks, and they hide it very well in the shot because when they start looking at each other, they also flash to Alana. It'll come up here in a second. And it's one of those things I think that'll be fun for people who don't know what's coming to catch on a rewatch because they do camouflage it very well here. Like here, see, there's one looking, another one looking, and then they go to Alana. So if you are not knowing what's happening, you're just thinking, oh, they're just showing us these women's reactions. But 2 of those women's reactions was, oh, get ready. You ready? Here, Swan lifts Leandrin up in flows of air, and then she encases her in fire. My little book nerd heart went, oh, this is like a, I don't know what to call it, like a speciality of Swans. Because in book 2, when she is training Nynaeve, that's something she does. She lifts her up and pins her against the wall with air. And then later on, I'll obviously put spoiler warnings at the beginning, but after she's healed by Nynaeve, she tries to lift Gareth Bryn and she can't because she's not strong enough. So, and like it shocks her that she can't do it. But the fact that that was like a reflex of hers was to wrap him in air and pick him up says that that's a thing that she does. That's a thing that she does. So this is book accurate. This is a reaction of hers of, hey, I'm going to show you my power. And the way I do that is by picking you up in air. So, okay, just as I pointed out earlier, Swan's sort of politically savvy thing of allowing Leandrin to say all of this stuff right when she's about to accuse her of being Black Aja. Black Aja, not Black Aja. But in this moment, I think Leandrin also pretty clever because right before this, Swan says, you will expose every single member of the Black Aja before you die. And Leandrin says, you're right. I will. Join me. So the assumption that is going to like fill people's soul in this moment who are here is that, oh yeah, these are all the Black Aja. She's about to expose them all right now. And again, book people know that's not true. That's not true in the slightest. There are tons of them, way too many. But they're going to think that they've caught them all in this moment. Except Swan is smart enough, I think. She's not going to think they caught them all. But a lot of people are going to think, oh, all of them here, they fought and then they left. The surprise on Lyanna's face there, and then we'll see like later on in the shot, the surprise on Swan's face. They were not prepared. They thought they were prepared, but they were not prepared. They thought, yeah, like that look on Lyanna's face, that look on Swan's face. They didn't know how deep the rot went. And so, yeah, this is a full on. I love Swan. I do. I love Swan as a character. I especially love her in the show. She's just got this presence. Obviously, it's Sofia Pinedo, so of course she has this presence. But this is a failure. This is a failure of leadership. And yeah, to not have realized this to this extent, like they are shocked to their core. You see it. Look at those shields. I don't have any thoughts really, except just it's so cool. It's so cool. You can see the shield there, and I love it. It makes me so happy. Oh, the special effects. Oh, I just want to drink it. I want to drink it all in. As a Brown at heart, I take this personally. You do not dissect the Browns. Come on, like she just wants to go and read some books and study and like preserve. Not why are we bisecting a Brown? Nynaeve is blocked. And that is obviously, that's book canon or whatever. But the interesting thing, I think the show is her block has so much more weight to it in the show because it manifests itself in moments of stress. And it also, she can't just overcome it by like psyching herself up and making herself mad because her fear is greater than her anger. In the books, she is definitely blocked, but like in moments when she needs it, it's always there. It's always there. She can always just like, oh, stupid bull-headed people poking each other, like, and then she's bad enough to channel. It's not as much of an obstacle. It's much more of an obstacle in the show. So it's, I think, adding stakes. And one of the things I think not making it as prominent in the books does is, like, in my mind, it's there. It's there, and it's a part of her story. It's a part of her insecurity and whatnot. But a lot of people don't notice it. So they just find her abrasive and upset, like, all the time. And, whereas I'm seeing a vulnerable woman who is using her anger as a mask to hide that. And other people are missing that because it's just not as up front. In the show, I've said this before, but I feel like the show Nynaeve is it's like they're seeing the Nynaeve that's been in my head for decades. So I'm loving this. I wish I could remember who it was. It was somebody in the comments who pointed out that the frustration that people are having, like non-book readers are having with Nynaeve, like, why can't she do it? Come on, Nynaeve. Like, even my sister, when we were watching the end of season 2, was like, come on, Nynaeve, why won't Nynaeve do it? The frustration that they're having with her. Imagine if Rand had done like what he does at the end of book 1, where he's like fighting up in the sky and killing armies of Trollocs. And then like book 2, he can't seem to do anything. And so season 2, he's struggling a lot. Like, that frustration would now be being applied to Rand in the show. Instead, it's being applied to Nynaeve. People are very frustrated when Nynaeve is not able to do things, but they're happy whenever Rand is it. Like, anything Rand does comes across as like, yes, Rand did something cool. Whereas when Nynaeve, at this point, when Nynaeve does something cool, their reaction is going to be, oh, finally, like, people are getting annoyed with her for not being able to do things. And I think that's interesting. It's an interesting thing to point out. What do these boys want to do? Like, they want to get in there and like, what do they think they're going to do when they get in that room? There's a bunch of one power being thrown around. You've got sticks. What are you going to do? The other reason I just thought I'd get this shot, just because I was imagining the behind the scenes of this shot. Like, there's a camera, like, right in their face, and it's, don't look at the camera, which is why they're kind of looking opposite directions as they're banging, because you can't look directly into the camera. It just made me laugh. This scene, okay, this is madness, what's happening here, but it's incredible. I just want to know what weaves. Like, I love to say, I know it's not important, like, what's important, oh, they're fighting, and you can clearly see that they are battling, but in the books, when you have one power battles, they tell you what's going on. Like, it's, okay, threw a slice of air at me, and I cut it with fire, or whatever. I want to know, like, because we get this close-up of Siuan's hand that they show here with, I guess, fire or air going around it, and then Liandrin spits up blood. What did you do to her, Siuan? Like, did you compress her and cause internal injury or something? Whatever. And then, like, you can sort of see weaves coming out of Liandrin there and spinning around. I know it's not important, but just the book nerd in me, I want to know what weaves exactly. What's going on? Then Joya picks up a rock and tosses it at Siuan, and it actually reminded me of season 1 Moraine. Moraine, when she like basically dismantled the Wine Spring Inn and used it as projectiles to take out some Trollocs. That's what this reminded me of. The other thing I'm just going to point out, she falls to the ground. And yeah, I was right about that. She's not holding herself up by her own power. I know it looks like that. Like, there's moments where, especially when she's like encased in fire and looks like she's shooting out weaves, that it looks like she's doing like a Magneto supervillain. I'm hovering above the ground. But she's not, it's not under her own power. She's entirely being held up by Siuan. Again, just asking, what does Naomi know about what's happening today? Because Siuan, like, okay, I'm just going to keep repeating myself. Liandrin went in there trying to do some sort of deposing thing, or I don't know, make accusations against the Amyrlin. They can't have known 100% that there was going to be a Black Aja battle in the hall today. They might have thought that maybe they were going to get power through political means, basically, instead of this, in which case, why? Like, what does Naomi know where they're going? Does Naomi know that today is the day that we have to leave because today is the day the Black Aja are exposed? I don't know. I'm just curious as to the machinations behind the scenes of not the show, of the Black Aja. I just want to know what the villains are doing. And then, of course, here we get into this, the room of the 13th depository, like this hidden room here. And I just wanted to get this shot because, yeah, that face. She looks like the cat that caught the canary. She's like, oh, finally. Yes. Probably didn't know it was there because it's very, very well hidden, behind an actual wall that doesn't have a door. It has a wall you have to dissolve somehow. When I was rewatching, I realized this scene shows how much the Reds are just hated by everybody because Jane comes around the corner and knocks at a Red, and the response is, oh, thank the light. Not like, hey, why are you knocking at one of your sisters? Like, what? They just, okay, good. Yay. Everybody assumes the Reds are bad guys. The other thing, of course, they had to give us, I think a lot of us, I know in one of my theory videos, people had suggested that the yellow Black Aja that we saw fighting in the hall was Chesmal. But no, they had to give us Chesmal in a scene where they named her. Especially for those of us who've been following the show, we had to be able to cry out, Chesmal fucking Emery, when we saw her, because that's Chesmal fucking Emery behind me now. But yeah, I also just love that again, because for those of us, again, in the know, when she comes, if we think like Maxim, like, oh, good, the Green Aja is here, and then they say Chesmal's name, and we all go, oh, okay. I called this clip in my files here, Pavara maybe protects some warders. I don't think it is, though. But that's just a theory that I'd heard people saying that I hear that Red Aja is Pavara, because she's pretty cool. She protects warders. She kills some warders, granted, but she also protects other warders, and she's on our side. But I don't think it is because of reasons that I will discuss later. Jane, okay, not anything you do, but when I was looking up how to spell her name, it's just because I know it's not Jane, so I knew it had to be something else. And when I was looking, I was like, oh God. As an English teacher who teaches English phonics to Korean dyslexics, I often feel like I have to apologize for the way English words are spelled because the rules, like every rule you teach them, then you have to teach them like a half a dozen or sometimes like dozens of exceptions to the rule that you just have to remember or whatever. Why are there 3 vowels in a row? It's just what? Anyway, I know this is not the only time in English, and this is not an English name, obviously, where you have 3 vowels in a row, but still, it's just too many vowels in that name. Anyway, Jane is super creepy here. The interesting thing, I should have looked her up specifically. I'm not sure if it's her. One of the Black Aja sisters has warders who are not dark friends, who, like, we actually are in her mind at some point when it might be her, who, in the books I'm talking about, later on, where she did not kill them, and she basically masks the bond and occasionally unmasks it just to know where they are, because they are coming to kill her. Or at least one of her warders is coming to kill her. And she could kill them very easily, but they don't. This is obviously a difference between show and book canon. In the books, even the Black Aja do not want their warders to die, because when your warder dies, you feel it, and that does not feel good. And it's magically imposed grief. You feel their death and you feel their loss. It's like an emptiness inside of you, and nobody wants that. Whereas in the show, she's like, oh, it's so, and again, like that's a sexual response that she's having to feeling their deaths. It's super creepy. Not a fan. I mean, like, not a fan of anybody who would have this response to it. I think it makes sense for the show just because it simplifies things. Oh, yeah, she's evil. She's evil. She likes feeling death. Cool. Like, I'm not going to complain, but I'm just going to point it out as a book nerd. This is there's a line. This is a clear line, a distinguishing line between book canon and show canon. I understand why it's for the show. It simplifies things. She's creepy. She's evil. Okay. All right. Now we are walking into the 13th repository. And I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain, I guess. When I film reactions, because of the way reactions work, you have to film them on a computer, which means I have to watch the show on my monitor. I'm pointing to my monitor. You can't see my monitor. I have a dinky little monitor. It's not great. And so everything is very, very dark and I miss details. The amount of times people will be like, did you not see this? Why didn't you react to this? It's because my monitor's really shitty and I didn't see it. So when the episode, or when this ended, I immediately, because I wanted to see what was in this room. Like I knew there would be Terran Real in there. And so I went and I got screenshots from these and I was zooming and enhancing. And if you watch right after this aired, I was on a live stream with Malkier Talks on his channel. And this is what I want to talk about immediately because there's some really, really cool things in this room. This is the first thing that they focus on, this arm bracer. And I had just been assuming it was a ter'angreal, but then when I was on Malkier Talks, we came up with another theory. I might have come from chat, or it might have come from Rob, or it might have come from me. I have no idea where the idea came from. So I like to give credit to ideas, and I don't know where this idea came from. But that this is the domination band. Or it's not, it's part of the domination band. This is one of the two ter'angreal that we physically see Naomi gather. And then we know she gets at least a third, but I'm sure she got more. Like I'm going to guess she got like 10 or 13 or whatever, however many Black Ajah sisters, she probably got one for each. But yeah, that's our theory, is that this is one of the sad bracelets. And then they have to go to Tanchico to get the other half. And if you remember the stills that we got from Tanchico, there's an image of a statue with a man wearing what looks like an idam. And he also has bracelets on, which is what the Sul'dam wear. So I could see that. I could see this being one, and then they have to go to Tanchico to get the other pieces to put them together. It's a fetch quest. And then we will follow them on their fetch quest, and then we will fetch from them. I brightened it here, just giving you a shot of me having brightened it and done a little sharp. You can sort of see the details. It really does look like the Shanshan, or the, what do you call it? It's not the item, it's the bracelet. I don't know, but does the bracelet have a name? I don't know if it does. If it's just called part of the item. Tell me in the comments, does it have a name? And then this is the good shit. Okay, you probably can't see it because it's dark. It was even darker when I watched it. So, brighten it up for you here. That's the red stone doorway. It's a red twisted door frame. And I've been saying, I believe we're getting the fin. I've been saying that for a while. My theory was that we're only, and still is kind of, that we're only going to get them once, or that we're going to get, like, I don't think we're going to get two different worlds. We might get both of them. And the reason I think we might get both of them is because you zoom in here. Oh, let me put myself in the middle because I now go in the door. Those are foxes. Those are snakes. So I could see going through here to Finland and both of them being there. So one gives, I always get them mixed up. I don't remember which one gives wishes, which one gives answers. But I could see Matt encountering them both. And then this also lends a bit of weight to the theory that somebody said in my video about theories. You can watch that video and see which, because I do like to give credit when other people have ideas and I don't want to say them as my own. But somebody had a theory that maybe he goes through a redstone door frame in one place and comes out in another. I think like Roydion was one. Now they said goes through a redstone door frame in Tanchico and comes out in Roydion, but it's here. It's here in Tar Valon. So I could see going through it here and then coming out in Tanchico maybe or something. I don't know. But I think that's a really cool idea. And I'm just really, because snakes, foxes, redstone doorway. I don't think they would just show this here and then not do something about it. We might get my favorite. I'm really, really hopeful. I've been saying I thought it was going to happen, but like one of my favorite lines from the books is that whole like, go to Roydion, son of battles. Go to Roydion, trickster, go gambler, go. I don't think we can say go to Roydion, but I want to hear the rest of it. The go gambler, go. Son of battles. I want to hear Matt called son of battles, please. Now, this is the shot, the wide shot with the stone door frame in the background. There's two pillars here on either side. So let's investigate. On the left, we have this glass rod. Voris Sangreal, maybe? I don't know. It could be. On the right, we have a mysterious spherical object. We've seen Moraine holding a glowy sphere that we, like, a lot of us are postulating is the Choden Call or the Choden Ball. Could this be the other half of the Choden Call here? I don't know. it looks spherical. I don't know. That's my only theory about what that could possibly be. Nice. This is nice. I think this is the luck ter'angreal. Who mentions it? Someone mentions it, whatever, in the books. So yeah, we have like different icons in it. So let me see, I can move myself over. So we have, this looks like the flame of Tar-Valon. We've got a sun. We've got cups. What would this be? Like a rod, a crown, and then up there is a rose. So yeah. I don't know. It's so good. This could be the flame of Tar-Valon, or it could be, if you like flipped it over, it could be a dragon's fang. And then Naomi breaks my heart. Just as I took it personally when we bisected a brown, I'm taking it personally when a brown turns out to betray us. I'm not a fan. Stop. No, Naomi, no. But at the beginning of that shot, before she betrays us, there's 2 more ter'angreal that we see here. So let's discuss. This is the one on the left. And again, I've brightened it and sharpened it. It looks like a dagger. I don't think it's the ruby dagger. Or like, I don't know, it just looks like a blade with some sort of hilt. The length, I've zoomed in on it a lot. The angle, I couldn't quite tell you exactly how long the hilt is there, or the blade is there, but it doesn't look like metal to me. I threw out Kalendor as a possibility. I don't think so. But the fact that it looks like a blade that is not made of metal, my brain went crystal. I don't think so. I don't think so. It's not in a stone. So whatever. I don't know. But this is this one here. The one on the left, pretty sure I know what this is. I believe that is a black fluted rod that I believe shoots balefire. Then we get Naomi's weave. It's going into their minds. I think this is a form of compulsion or some sort of mind thing. I think we're going to see a lot of compulsion this season, obviously with Magi showing up. And one of her first interactions with Nynaeve in the books anyway is compulsion. And we've seen not one of her first interaction with Nynaeve. She used a compulsion on her. And we've seen the shot from the trailer of Magi stroking Nynaeve's face. And I'm pretty sure that Nynaeve is compelled in that scene. One other thing I do want to point out from this scene, though, slowing it down, there's a weave. Look what comes up from behind Verin there. Verin does some sort of defense. The weave lasts much, much longer going into Adeleas here. So you see, you have some sort of either fire or air. She protects herself. Book spoilers. Why would Verin know how to protect herself against compulsion? I'm going to give a very, very heavy spoiler warning here, but she knows how to do this, and she defends herself. I also think it's very likely that Verin knew about Naomi. Don't know what Naomi knows about Verin, but pretty sure Verin went into this knowing. Which, of course, then begs the questions, what orders did Verin have doing this? Like, what was she under orders to allow things to happen a certain way? I don't know. Now, I do think that some injury has happened to Verin here, because you see, like, they're both bleeding from the nose. And I don't think she can fake that. I do think, though, obviously, as I said, the weave lasts much, much longer on Adeleas. So I could see her collapsing intentionally. I don't think she is nearly as harmed. Well, we know that she's not nearly as harmed because she knows who Adeleas is, and Adeleas does not know who she is by the end of this. But I think that she is basically, what do you call it? She's fake playing dead is what she's doing here, so that Naomi will just leave and leave them alive. Which again begs the question, if she is under orders to allow this to happen, this is very good cover for Verin as well. Going back to the ter'angreal, this is, I know exactly what this is. This is exactly what it looks like in the books. It's the dream disc. I'm so excited. And then we see Naomi grabbing ter'angreal. We see her grabbing this statue of an unclothed woman, which is, again, a ter'angreal that is literally described in the books. And then this arm bracer. Those are the only two we actually see her pick up. In this shot, you see the yellows acting as medics. There's an evil yellow acting as a medic for the evil side. And then we will see a yellow healing the Amyrlin as well, because that's one of the things that they can do. They are medics in battle. Here we go. Good yellow doing her job. interesting to note, look what weaves that we have. We have water and air. In the books, water and air are the weaves that are used for healing. Water, air, and spirit are the weaves that are used for healing in the books by the Yellow Aja. And then Nynaeve comes in and she's like, why use 3 when you can use 5? Like, why are you only using 3 out of 5 of the tools at your disposal? Oh my God. Liana, oh, she is like wielding that motherfucker. Like, what the hell? Oh my God. This bodes well for a certain fight scene between a certain trickster and 2 royal brothers, because like this is cool. And she's using it like a quarterstaff. And oh my God. Why? She's already dead. Again, in the chat of Malkier Talks in the live stream, one of the things somebody pointed out, she's trying to make sure she's dead. The yellows, she's like, oh, I knocked you out. The yellows are not going to heal you, motherfucker. Like, you have to put your brain back in your skull. I'm going to make sure it's spread out everywhere, because holy crap. And then her crown. She's lost her crown. That's literally the only point of the shot. I just thought it was like, later on we see her walking through the streets crownless. I think we can see it a little bit on the floor behind her when she stands up. But yeah, that's it. That's the point. Like, I think that's it at the top of the screen there. Slinking looks so cool. This looks very different from how it did in season 1, which probably is a matter of special effects having been upgraded and, basically having more budget and whatever. It looks really, really cool. I think you could easily say in show canon, this is because they know how to do it. And what was her name? Amathera, I think. Amathera didn't know how to do it. So it's just so cool. Like, look at there's like a tornado of power in between them. It's cool. It's cool. Also, just want to point out, like, you see the tornado of power, and then there's like weaves coming in like from the side there. I love the detail, and they're different colors, and you can see what they're doing, and I love it. Okay, we've got Jane and Chesmal here, and look at this. It's a bevy of dead warders out in the hall. This door explodes, and you see these warders flying. I think when we saw this in the trailer, we assumed that they were alive warders. I'm pretty sure now they were just corpses being tossed by the explosion, because look at all the dead warders. The next shot is this one of Moiraine looking up at the explosion that is happening in the tower. And again, the feeling that I had again here is that the assumption is going to be she's very worried for Siuan. And I don't think that's not true. I think she's worried for Siuan, but I also think as an Aes Sedai, she is feeling an institution that she has dedicated her life to start to crumble. The other thought I had looking at this, like, that's visible from the entire city. The entire city would be panicking, because Tar Valon, it's sort of built around, we are here at the seat of the feet of the Aes Sedai. They keep us safe. Our city is secure because of the Aes Sedai. And then you see that. Okay, this scene is why, A, I don't think any of the reds that we saw at the beginning were Black Aja, and B, why I do not think that one Aes Sedai was Pavara. Because, okay, look, you see a red Aja there, and then if I go move myself, look, I think that's the Aes Sedai we were all hoping was Pavara, and no, she dead. The other thing I will say, in this scene, Liandrin comes out and she says, quick, get to the docks. And book fans, anytime the show mentions docks, I'm like, what? Why are you talking about docks? Now there are obviously going to be docks in Tar Valon because, it's a city, like, literally surrounded by water. So whatever. But I don't want Moiraine going near any docks yet. Please, no, don't go near any docks. This scene, Siuan splits the party. Never a good idea. This is also Siuan. She's going to fail. The show could change things, but I really, really doubt that it will. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Black Aja, and the significant number of them, are going to escape. They're going to escape. And this is, once again, setting a foundation for things that are going to happen later this season. Siuan first failed by not realizing how many people in the tower were Black Aja. Not just in the tower, but literally sitters, people that she would be regularly having conversations with and making policy or whatever, doing whatever they do when they're in the hall. They were literally dark friends. And then she's like, okay, we cannot let them leave this city. They're gonna leave the city. I know I'm not the only one, but for a second I thought she was dead. She's clearly breathing, so I don't, this is not like a Nynaeve from like the end of season 1. She's clearly breathing here. But who are you? She doesn't know. She doesn't know. And yeah, when I was watching this, like the way that Varen is touching her face, and that you could sort of see it in her gestures, the grief that she's feeling, like, oh my God, my sister. It reminded me, I don't know how many of you listen to Wheel Takes podcast. If you don't, you should. But Ali had a theory about Adeleas and Vandene that I now wonder if they're going to be putting on Varen and Vandene. Ali's theory was basically, I don't remember which sister is which, because they are not as important in the books at all. And, but Ali was like locked in on their story and thought that one of them was a dark friend who turned to the dark in order to protect the other sister. And then when that sister died, basically that was, when she starts like wearing her sister's clothes, and basically she becomes incredibly, incredibly depressed. I could see them putting that story here just because that she looks so protective, and then just so, Varen looks so lost when Adeleas has been harmed. And it's just like that moment where that moment of, it's such good acting. It's subtle, but I feel it. I feel it in my gut. So in the shot where I was showing Naomi grabbing, we saw her grab the armband and we saw her grab the unclothed woman. There on her back, can you see it? I'm pretty sure that's the black fluted rod. So those are the 3 I think we can definitively say that she got. I'm also pretty sure she took the disc just because that's book canon. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't just grab everything that she could. So yeah, she even says here, I grabbed whatever I could. Actually, here is where she said, yeah, whatever else I could carry. But notably, Liandrin says, you got it. So something specific that she had to grab. They showed us her grabbing 2 things, the unclothed woman and the armband. And I do think the armband is the it that she had to grab, because now my theory is that, yeah, that's part of the domination bands. Imagine being a citizen of Tar Valon and seeing the Amyrlin out in the streets. Like the Amyrlin's out in the streets. She's looking disheveled because she doesn't have her crown on. She's not even wearing her stole or her regalia. She's just walking through the streets. Like you see the people in the background be like, Like imagine living in Rome and you suddenly see the Pope just stalking the streets looking for rogue priests. Wouldn't be so bad because there's some priests out there doing some rogue stuff. But anyway, I don't know. The thought of being a citizen in the city and seeing this, it would just be, what the fuck is going on? There's an explosion in the tower, and now the Amyrlin, she's not looking happy, is just like marching through the streets. Time we get this face off. And okay, Alanna, again, you will not leave the city alive. They will. At least some of them will leave the city alive. The music here, there's like a musical sting that isn't exactly the sting I hear in my head when you have those Western shots. I can't really hum. It's like doo-doo-doo, whatever. I want a tumbleweed to go here. There might even be like a sound of a door closing, which again evokes Westerns. I loved this moment. It was so good. At the end of the scene, though, you see her 2 warders. Let me see Maxim and Ivan come out. And what exactly are, like, warders are useful when you're fighting Shadowspawn. Warders are useful when you're fighting Dark Friends who are not channelers. We saw with the Aes Sedai that a lot of people thought might be Pavara. She killed 2 warders like that. Like there was she barely didn't have to move to kill 2 warders. What are they planning to do here? Like, warders are useful. They are. But not against channelers. They are so easy to take down. Now, Alanna, I'm assuming, is going to be protecting them to some degree. I don't think she's going to succeed entirely, but that is going to divide her focus. If her warders weren't there, I bet you Alanna could fight better because she wouldn't have to be focusing on protecting them. The final thing, it's just another thing about this shot. One of the things I noticed is that there are 7 Black Ajah standing here in this shot, and it just made me go, oh, look, it's the Magnificent 7 against Alanna. And then, again, on Malakir Talks, somebody, I think it was Skeeter, said in the chat, it's not the Magnificent 7, it's the Malevolent 7. Well, no, wait, because I think Skinner did the next part. So then we were calling them the Malevolent Seven. And then he said, and it's Alana Oakley. So it's Alana Oakley versus the Malevolent Seven. And I love it. It's a perfect name for this scene. It's so good. Ah! All right. There you have it. Those are all of my book nerdy thoughts. I'm sure I actually have others. I'm sure I'll have more later. But this is going to be on the show eventually. So maybe if I have other thoughts, I can bring it up then. But yeah, those are my book nerdy thoughts about this 11-minute sneak peek. And I want the season to start now. But then I also don't want it to start now because I want it to last longer. I hate that it's so fast. I hate that it goes by so fast. But anyway, let me know your book nerdy thoughts about this in the comments below, and your nerdy thoughts about my nerdy thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. If you like my content and you want to support me, I also have a Patreon that is linked in the description below. To my patrons, as always, thank you. Thank you so much for your continued support. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.